Start.
Good morning everyone. I am Professor Ashwini Bhosle, BDS College of Pharmacy, Hadapsar. Today I am going to take a lecture on carbohydrates. So my content is, in the carbohydrate we are going to study with history of carbohydrate. After history, next one is what are the definition and the types of carbohydrate. After definition and classification, we have some tests of carbohydrates. So the tests are like what? Filling test, Morris test. After that we have a barcode test. So we are going to start with the next slide. Before going to study the carbohydrate, you should know what is the history of carbohydrate and from where the carbohydrates occur. So as we know, carbohydrates are what? These are the polyhydroxy or polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketones compounds. So the traditional definition of carbohydrate is, it is defined as the compound which composes of carbon, hydrogen and the oxygen. If we are going to study the formula, the latter two elements of that carbohydrate, so latter two means what? Hydrogen and the oxygen, they are having the same proportion as that of water. As we know, the formula of water is what? H2O. So 2 is what? Hydrogen and 1 is the oxygen. So the same formula we have to apply for the carbohydrate traditionally, that is CnH2n. So this formula is for what? For the carbohydrate, but there are some compounds which are exceptions, like acetic acid and the lactic acid. Though they are not a carbohydrate, but they are fit in the same formula. So the traditional definition of that carbohydrate is what? It is the having some lacunas or the deficiency. So the new or the modern definition start with, it is a polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketone. So where the carbohydrates get formed, or we can obtain the carbohydrates from which sources? So as we know that carbohydrates are, they are what? They are obtained basically from the plants, and plants produce that carbohydrate by the one mechanism we can call as photosynthesis. So compared to the animals, abundant carbohydrates are present in what? In the plant. So this is the one mechanism or one cycle by which carbohydrate get formed. So for synthesis of carbohydrate or formation of carbohydrate, what we have? We require the chlorophyll, hydrogen and the carbon dioxide. So in presence of sunlight, finally carbohydrates get formed. So these are some well-known examples like glucose, sugar, starch and cellulose, and these are what? These are commonly found in the plants. So this is the classification of carbohydrates. So carbohydrates mainly classify into the three classes, that is monosaccharide, oligosaccharide and the polysaccharide. So monosaccharide means what? Which contains a single unit. So example of monosaccharide is what? Like a glucose, fructose. So these are the examples. So carbohydrate basically classified into the two main classes, that is the simple sugar and the non-sugars. So simple sugars are again classified into two classes, that is monosaccharide and second one is the oligosaccharide. So this monosaccharide having a sub-classification also. Sub-classification based on what? How much carbons are present. Like if the monosaccharide or as the definition of monosaccharide, what? It is a single unit. Understood? But in single unit, if your compound contains the two carbon atoms, we can call it as bios. Your compound contains three carbon atoms, we can call it as trios, tetrose, pentose, hexose and the heptose. So this is the sub-classification under monosaccharide. These are called as saccharides or the simple sugar because they are having a sweet taste. Then oligosaccharide. So oligosaccharide contains 2 to 8 molecules of the monosaccharide. Understood? So oligosaccharide again classified into subclasses like disaccharide, trisaccharide and tetrasaccharide. So di means what? It contains the two monosaccharide units. So example of disaccharide is what? Sucrose and the maltose. So sucrose contains how much molecules? 2 two molecules, and these two molecules are what? One is glucose and second one is the fructose. Then trisaccharide example is the ribose and tetrasaccharide having the example styrose. So polysaccharide, as the name indicates, poly means what? They are having a n number of the monosaccharide. It is a long chain of the monosaccharide, so it is called as polysaccharide.